Garage, I was pumping gas out of his alley wagon, got me up from a quarter tank to 3/4 tank. Stopped off at Rome Hilliard per, I think it was Noah who was telling me about it. Somebody can be, maybe that WRX guy, but he said, off Rome Hilliard, gas is $1.83. Well, I was getting down the road and I had to pee, so I stopped at the Speedway there. Sure enough, gas is $1.83. I checked my distributor. I was going to, just take a look at it, maybe consider changing it out. I grabbed my 10mm wrench to go turn the nut to loosen it, and it was loose.
Yeah.
And I seen that the distributor's way over to the right, retarded. I guess if that screw was loose, all the Bahan and the high RPM, it rotates counterclockwise. So, it must have, just kind of walked over on its own, the distributor. So I turned it back to where it should have been because I could see, the shiny spot where the screw was. And oh, she's driving pretty good. My fuel gauge hasn't even budged. It's still above full since I left Rome Hilliard up in Columbus. And that open exhaust, she kind of pulls a little bit better in the mid-range with chopping that pipe off. And she pulls pretty good. It even seems to shift smoother now. The clutch seems more solid. It kind of still wanders to the left, but it doesn't seem quite as bad. Maybe I rotated my tires around since they're worn unevenly. Maybe it's just uneven tire wear is causing my steering, but yeah, I smoked my last one and Piqua.
Piqua? What the hell was you doing in Piqua?
Oh, on my way through, I lit up my last cigarette coming off of 36 there onto the highway.
Oh, you didn't turn it. 235 and up.
No, I just came the way I knew. I made 2 phone calls from John's after I called you. I called Harold, and I'm going to stay up there in Fort Wayne instead. And I called Danny to let him know I was going to stay in Fort Wayne. And I got to grab some stuff out of the RX. And it'd be easier to do that in the daytime instead of all late at night in the alley. And then I can sift through the basement. So how's Patty's car doing these days?
It's alright.
How about that oil drip? Is it starting to go away a little bit, or just about a dime or something like that?
Yeah, about a dime every now and then.
Old John finally got around to mowing his yard, per the neighbor's suggestion. I was over there the other day, and his neighbor come out, and I was like talking about he put his house up on the market and this and that, and property values, and John's driveway puking out Subarus, and his garage puking out Subarus, and his Subaru's puking out fires, and oh, if you need any help with anything, I'll help you out. I see your siding starting to fall down off the side, all that bullshit. And I thought it was kind of rude of that neighbor guy to, so to speak, put himself above John, like Mr. Neighborhood Association Mall Security.
Yeah.
John tore his dashboard out, sawed it up, and threw it in the trash. I pulled it out, took some shots of it. All the ductwork behind the defroster vent was all melted, and it was like hottest, like at the heater core. It was all melted up. The wiring was mostly intact, but the wiring was kind of burnt up a little bit over towards the fuse panel. But if John were to replace the engine harness and the dashboard, the car should be, put back together. Structurally the car is fine, the body's fine. The windshield could be cleaned up, but it's all kind of busted up a little bit from the fireman prying it open with crowbars. But other than that, if John had set the parking brake or opened the hood first before he went for the hose, he probably would have had it before it burned anything up. But I'm wondering if it, I don't know if he had any high draw amp wires running through the firewall at all, but I'm wondering if it started out as electrical. I don't think it originated as fuel. I think something else started a fire and then caught the fuel as it burned, and the fuel took over. As far as his alley wagon goes, the only thing he really doesn't have to put it back together is a dashboard. He's got the one that came out of it, but it's got all that extra wiring harness for that transmission and stuff, which he wouldn't need that. It'd be extra wiring. And I told him that you got a couple dashboards out of a turbo that are just up there for parts or whatever.
got.
And I told him to see if you would consider trading one for some of his parts. Maybe he could trade you that dashboard that goes with that 4-speed automatic. That way he has a, you know, just a straight turbo dashboard that he can put in that car. And he's already got an engine harness.
Well, I don't know if I got a turbo.
Maybe it doesn't matter with turbo. I think just all the dashboard does is connect the body harness to the engine harness. The where the ECU plugs in is actually part of the engine harness itself. And then the fuse panel is part of the body harness, and the dashboard plugs it all in between.
That come out of that blue one up there is.
Now one of them GL10s was a SPFI, but wasn't one of them turbo? The St. Mary's car wasn't a turbo?
Yeah, that's right.
And you do have, that was a blue one, was it?
And that's upstairs all intact.
Yeah, and John was, see, he had a gray dashboard, he swapped in a blue one, so a blue one would be one
See,
he's
that's
after.
blue too up there. Right there.
Yeah.
And there's blue on the upstairs.
So if you got a blue turbo dashboard, you could probably pretty much get whatever he's got for even trade. I told him, you know, Jim likes to, you know, wheel and deal, and he'd probably rather trade than pay cash. And you might be able to get what he wants, or what you want from him, by trading something that you got that he would want. But he's got, you know, he's got a whole complete car of parts, more than he has cars to put them on. So
Right.
if any one of his cars needs a part, he's got it. He's got a carbureted wiring harness, he's got a turbo wiring harness, he's got a complete body harness, you know, sets of doors, fenders. I told him I got a hood for him for the alley wagon. And he's got a full set of tires and trailing arms and struts and axles. And Jason,
Well, that blue dash up here, he's gonna have to take the
windshield thing.
the VIN number off his dash.
Yeah, I told him don't give up. He's like, oh, I think I'll strip it out and junk. And he's like, he's got too much work into it. The body's still straight. The only thing body-wise is the side of the fender kind of got pushed down from the crowbar.
He may have another fire in it after he replaces all that shit again. See, I
don't know, maybe
I wouldn't have done it. I wouldn't have went all that way as far as he did anyways.
I can't think of, I think maybe,
I wouldn't even have done when he first got the car from Cambridge. I would have just picked out what was good in the motor and the training and got rid of it. I wouldn't as way as far as he did.
He's gone too far with it to junk it because he'd be out too much. But I mean, if the problem was in the wiring harness or whatever, I mean, all that's going to be replaced anyway from parts off known running cars. Because the engine harness he's got as a replacement came off a running and driving car. It just had a slightly blown head gasket, and just the body was so rusted out. So why ended up getting junked?